Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to this E2 Effective Elders podcast. In this episode, we will be talking about assessing church health. As elders, we are responsible to assess the health of our congregation. Join us as we learn how to be church doctors.
Hey everyone, welcome to the E2 Effective Elders podcast. E2 is devoted to coaching your elder team to win by providing biblical and practical resources in authentic relationships. E2 wants nothing more than to equip you to move God's kingdom forward in the place you're serving Jesus. Visit us at e2elders.org and please share this good word with others.
Hey, thanks for joining us here at E2 Effective Elders for this, our third podcast in this new year, 2020. We are so very grateful to CDF Capital for their investment in elders. They have made yet another gift to E2 Effective Elders so that we can have this new podcast format of ministry to elders. Check them out at cdfcapital.org. Our thanks to Dusty Rubeck, president of CDF, longtime friend, and also a friend of E2. I want to welcome once again to our podcast Pete Brown, and Pete is an elder at Ben Davis Christian Church, but also he is working with E2 as a strategist helping us to tell our story. Pete, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gary. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. I hope that you're going to be getting some traffic at ash-interactive.com. Where you can become acquainted with people who are looking for some marketing help in telling their story at their ministry or wherever it is. You're certainly telling our story, helping us to do so.
Absolutely. And, that's one of my great passions is learning about new businesses and new organizations that are serving the community and just trying to help them navigate the waters of marketing and media production and how to podcast and all that good stuff. So as questions arise, you're welcome to reach out to me through e2elders.org through the contact form, and I'm glad to set up a call and talk to anybody. So
well, I know that you've helped many a church. So in this episode, we want to talk about church health. And as we do so, one reason why Pete is at our table again as an elder at Ben Davis Christian Church, they actually went through the very process that we're going to be describing in this podcast. So what we want to begin with is this thought that healthy things grow. You and I could call it organic growth.
Sure.
Goes all the way back to Genesis chapter 1 and 2. God creates organic growth. So if we have good soil, we got good seed, we got some rain, some sunshine, that seed should germinate and grow, producing a plant, producing a tree. Organic growth is in the human body.
Absolutely.
A baby is born, and if a baby gets good food, rest, exercise, education, and so on, that healthy child should be growing. Healthy things grow. It's true about a church.
And it's true about business. I mean, even in the context of what we're talking about today a little bit, and how that overlaps with what I spend a lot of my time doing is they call it organic growth on social media, or they call it organic growth on websites. If you're providing content to people, you're feeding them with good information, you're feeding them with information they want to ingest. That's also a form of organic digital growth. But in the context of a church, totally. I mean, even and just so folks at home know a little bit about my eldership journey, I've been an elder for a little over a year, so I'm still relatively new. But it's the growth that we've seen in a short amount of time that I've been attending Ben Davis, and then since I've become an elder, since our lead minister Ryan Heathco has been leading there, has been fantastic to reflect upon and be a part of.
And I have walked with now Ben Davis. E2 has been a partner at Ben Davis, and it's pretty obvious that healthy things grow.
Yeah.
And that is so true of Ben Davis Christian Church.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and even when we first met and got our eldership team together after you had met with Ryan and our elder chair Warren, we could tell that we were going to be injected with some, I don't know, fertilizer
Yeah,
or something
sure.
when we started with E2 because of the organization, because of the fact that you'd been through it so many times with other partner churches, that, you know, when you become a part of E2, you become a part of a huge international network.
Absolutely.
And one thing that, if I only have one good thing to say this entire podcast, you're not alone. Your church is not alone. You as an elder are not alone. You as a frustrated staff person are not alone, a volunteer. There's a huge network of folks like us, and you know, working through E2, working with Gary and his team, you know, we're here to connect everybody.
Yeah. Praise be to God.
Absolutely.
Yep, it's making a difference. So what we want to do as we explore church health, think of it through the lens of medicine. So if we're not feeling well, when we wake up, we make the appointment at the doctor, we go to the doctor and the nurse. Before we see the doctor, the nurse takes our what?
Vitals.
Our vitals, absolutely. And vital signs are a snapshot of our immediate health.
Yeah.
A snapshot. So typically there are 4 vital signs: our pulse, our blood pressure, our weight, and our temperature. Part of that pulse might be checking our oxygen content of the blood. But these 4 vital signs measure our health, and they're very important. And likewise, there are 4 vital signs to church health. Now, they need to be memorized. Do you remember when I started working with Ben Davis, we talked about knowing these vital signs?
We did. And there are 4 S's.
That's right, 4 S's. That's exactly correct.
And the first one being students.
Yeah, students. It's so very important to measure student health within the local church. Now, by that, student, I mean anyone who's a newborn into that college age of life.
Sure.
And we call that students. Why would that be important in your thinking as an elder?
Well, statistically, we're hearing that churches are shrinking, that churches are dying off and going away because they're not healthy, right?
Right.
And the youth and the future of the church is something you should constantly be
Absolutely.
massaging. You should be, you know, constantly pouring into that, so that way there's health and continuation and growth. And you're setting a great example for them, for their future generations as well.
Absolutely. So if, as an elder, you're taking a vital sign, this first one, students, you'd be asking yourself, all right, are there evidences of children in the nursery, children in preschool, children in children's church? Do you have middle school students, high school students? Do you have college-age young people attending? And if you have low census counts, low numbers, that should be a vital sign that captures your attention.
Yeah.
Do you have young people, children coming to Christ, teenagers giving their life to Jesus, being immersed? Do you have young people going into the ministry, accepting a call on their life to go to Bible college?
Yeah.
So what's the state of health among students, children and students in the local church? And that's a way to take a vital sign, all right?
Definitely. And our second S is statements, and that's a little bit more about what folks internally, externally are saying about your organization. Is that right?
Exactly correct. Yes, so statements. Remember, Jesus said in Matthew 12 that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah.
So whatever people have in their interior world, what they're thinking, they're going to be speaking. If you've got people in the church communicating something, if they are verbally saying something about the church of which they're a part, we want it to be good. We want it to be positive. Man, I love my church. Oh, I'm so excited about my church.
Yeah.
Love my pastor. Man, the elders, they're great leaders of our church. That's what we want to hear. But then again, we might hear people moaning, groaning, griping, complaining.
Yeah.
Those are comments. And it's not only internally, but externally.
Sure.
What are neighbors saying about the church? What are the schools saying about the church? What are businesses saying about the church? Because we have neighbors, and like a good neighbor, we want to be there, the local church. And not only verbally, but virtually. You work, your cup of tea, Pete, is the virtual world.
Absolutely.
So what are people posting on Facebook?
Absolutely.
What are they tweeting about the church?
Yep.
Statements, they help us measure the health of the local church, what people are saying.
Yep. And then really being able to understand what they're saying and who are those people saying. I mean, in a virtual world, we have what are called trolls. You know, we have the people that will just say bad things about everybody for some reason. They're bored. And how do you respond to that? And how do you even go to find that? You know, a lot of the organizations that we work with that haven't spent a lot of time online is just going, well, where are all the places people could say good things or bad things about us? And then how do we react and how do we respond to that too?
So I think that as we wrap up this second vital sign, we have to remember that old phrase, consider the source.
Absolutely.
So as people speak about us, we have to consider the source.
For sure. Yep. And as we roll into struggles, gosh, is there a church that doesn't have struggles? Does that exist somewhere? I mean, it's big or small, but I mean, we all have conflicts and things we need to work on, right?
And that third vital sign, S for struggles, is very important. As elders, if we are not identifying struggles and dealing with them, those struggles will grow and metastasize like cancer.
Yeah.
Those struggles will spread throughout the church and cause great travesty.
Yeah.
So struggles might be financial.
Yep.
We can't meet budget. It might be over worship styles. We would like to think that the worship wars are over, but they're not.
No.
They might be struggles between staff and elders. That's a very common issue that we at E2 hear from. Churches call us, hey, help us. We're not hitting on all 8 cylinders when it comes to staff and elders. So there are struggles within the church.
And then we finally wrap up with statistics. And of course, the traditional 3 are...
I call them nickels, noses, and notches.
Yeah.
Nickels, what was the offering? Noses, what was the attendance? And notches, did anybody make a decision?
Yeah, but it's actually deeper than that. I mean, for the types of... the NCD and so forth. I mean, that was one of the things that struck me early on was when we started talking about strategic planning strategy and phases of that. And the first thing was to understand your vitals, but in an even deeper way based on different types of statistics.
Sure. So if we just stop and think about the dashboard of our vehicles, your dashboard in your Jeep does not look like my dashboard in my 6-speed.
Right.
Okay? Different dashboards. But again, every church needs to develop a dashboard of what's important to them. We measure what's important.
Right.
Very important phrase. We measure what's important. So if I'm obese and I need to lose 100 pounds, I'm going to get on those scales every day.
Yeah.
We measure what's important. All right?
Yep.
So if all we're measuring is attendance, offering, and decisions, that's all that's important to us. Why don't we measure the number of young people who are in life groups? Why don't we measure the number of people who are going on short-term mission trips? Measure the number of people who are serving in the church, volunteering. There are many statistics that we need to develop a dashboard with.
And to that point, I mean, for me, I'm generally a numbers focused person, you know, so saying this much, you know, was tied, this many people came in and so forth makes sense to me. But one thing that struck me when we started working together on this with our eldership was you're also taking statistics of how people perceive the church and how people feel about certain components of the church, which for me has always been kind of a gray area, but being walked through it helped me understand it a lot more.
Sure.
And then I think it's about the consistency and asking the same question multiple times over the years, so you can sort of gauge where you're at, even when it's not just a counting game.
Exactly correct.
So.
And even when it comes to statistics, you are helping us look at our statistics with regard to the virtual world.
Yeah.
And those measurements are very helpful to us, helping us understand how our story is being told and expanded.
Yeah.
So we take our vitals. Let's say we're at the doctor and they take our vitals and things are not looking good. Maybe that blood pressure is elevated. The doctor comes in and goes, we're going to get to the bottom of this.
Yep.
We're going to run some blood work or we're going to take some tests. The same thing is true with regard to church health. So we memorize students, statements, struggles, statistics. We can take those vitals as church leaders while we're driving from point A to point B in our car,
Yep.
while we're sitting at home, whatever. We can take those vitals, but if something is out of whack, then it leads us to a deeper assessment of church health.
Yeah.
And do you remember what we took at Ben Davis?
Well,
It was called the what?
was the next the vitals, right?
Well, after the
Sorry.
vitals, no, the report. It was a survey that we took, remember?
Oh, was it the N?
The NCD
Yes,
analysis.
yes.
Yes, exactly. So we at E2, we enjoy doing this with churches. And NCD means Natural Church Development. And their website, ncdamerica.org.
Okay.
Now, what is important is that this organization, NCD, started by a guy named Dr. Christian Schwartz in Europe. He and his staff, they traveled over 1,000 churches on 6 continents. They gathered over 4 million pieces of research data. They crunched it all, and they discovered 8 traits of health. Do you remember how we looked at those there at Ben Davis?
Absolutely, and this is one of these sections where, again, it wasn't cut and dry for me up front, but once we got the results back from the NCD, we were able to analyze them, and it really helped us pinpoint areas that we maybe didn't even perceive that were going very well, or perceive as going, that could use a little help, but that really
Absolutely.
helped tie it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those 8 traits of health, just like we have cardiac health, heart health.
Yeah.
We have pulmonary health, our lungs, our breathing. We have skeletal health, our bones. We have mental health. The human body has different systems. Similarly, the local church has 8 key areas of health. And the assessment measures those 8 areas. And I got the Ben Davis file out of our partner church. And here is their analysis. And we went through that. And as an elder team, we addressed next steps.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
So just like if we go to the doctor and the blood work comes back and the doctor says, oh, you're pre-diabetic. Well, before we put you on insulin, we're going to put you on a diet. We're going to put you on an exercise
Yeah.
program. There were next steps.
Yep.
And so we talked about that at Ben Davis,
Yep.
the elder team. What are the logical next steps to move to increased health?
Yep.
Yeah. Was it practical?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, for us, it gave us such a great jumping off point to even discuss, I mean, with going from kind of running a system that had been in place for a long time and feeling that it had gotten a little stagnant, and then to being injected with all of these, with all the strategies and structure that E2 brought along when you came on board, I mean, for us was game changing because it also gave us all a unified point of focus. Instead of each going, well, I think this needs some work and he thinks that needs some work, the data doesn't lie,
Right.
And so it gave us an area to focus on in a unified fashion and get us all rallying around that growth
Very
and
good.
that health. Yeah.
And it may be that you're listening and or watching and you want to know these 8 traits. So just very quickly, I'm going to tell you these 8 traits of church health. Empowered leadership, Jesus-focused worship, need-based evangelism, passionate spirituality, gift-oriented service, holistic small groups, loving relationships, and last of all, functional structures. And there's a key analysis of each of those 8 areas, and we're able to then help the local church develop an action plan for next steps.
Yeah, absolutely. And the report was great, but even the follow-up, I mean, in our situation, having not had a really clear and concise strategic plan, and as we were talking about even earlier for the E2 strategic plan, being able to put things on the wall and be able to rally around them was really huge. And I mean, we talk a little bit about kind of how E2 integrates into an eldership and a staff team to start developing the strategic planning process.
Yep. Well, you know what? That is such a key issue. Let's save that.
Okay, fair enough.
For a a future podcast.
Fair
Can we
enough.
do that?
Yeah, let's do it. Cool. Well, and that'll take more than a minute and a half to explain.
Yeah,
Right.
it will. Absolutely. Well, listen, folks, we're so very grateful that you could be with us. And Pete, I want to thank you because you're bringing real-time insights into the conversation as to how this is onboarded in the local church with an elder team. And so you're part of the conversation brings great value.
It's my
to
pleasure.
this.
And like I said, I'm always glad to speak with anybody who's considering this or wants feedback or other thoughts, or connect you with people on the Ben Davis eldership or faculty that could speak to you directly from your position.
Great.
So, yeah.
So again, join us, share this information with others. Remember, our moms taught us to share. That's a good thing. So whether on SoundCloud or on our YouTube channel, E2 Elders, visit us, or on our Facebook page, E2 Elders. Visit us on our website, e2elders.org. Contact us, call us. Our numbers are there. Text us. Those are cell phones. We want to draw alongside and help your team to win for the glory of Jesus. Lead well.